Hi guys, I am embarking on a journey here that I've been putting off for a really long time. Laura and I have been in this house for probably close to 11 years, and when we moved in, there was this, this deal that we needed to take care of. And some of you guys are starting to see it in the background. That monster, those are all bushes that we had no desire to have. So this is what's going to go down. I am going to be attacking this. All right, I've already started over here. All right, so I'm going to be attacking this kind of day by day, and I'm going to clue you in because I feel like there's some stuff that I'm learning as I go through this project. There's some stuff that I'm learning. This is day one, but this is the takeaway. So there's going to be personal takeaways on all of these, right? The takeaway is just because you avoid something doesn't mean that it goes away, right? So all of us are avoiding something in our lives that we're trying to put away, or we don't want to deal with because sometimes we don't feel like we have the strength to deal with it. We don't feel like we have the energy to deal with it, or it's so unknown we just don't embark on it. So one of the things here is like we have avoided taking care of this. Look, there's like 20 more feet of yard. Once I cut this out, it's gonna be like 20 more feet all the way around our yard. But we've avoided taking care of it because I haven't had the time to do it, haven't had the energy, maybe haven't had the resources to have somebody come in and just clean it out. So we are embarking on this journey now. My question to you is, what have you been avoiding that you just need to take care of? What I'm seeing by this is when I've avoided taking care of it or addressing it, it's just given it room to grow and fester and become something that is even more difficult to handle. So my encouragement to you, my encouragement to me is, let's handle some stuff that we've been putting off, that we've been avoiding, that we've been neglecting, so we don't let it grow anymore. Take care of it, and let's move forward. It's funny, like when you take care of something too, when you've been avoiding it or neglecting it, you realize that if you had taken care of it initially, it wouldn't be this big thing that you don't want to handle. But go after it, finish something, maybe even start something. Maybe just don't embark on something. Maybe it's a problem with you and your family members, or maybe it's a problem with you and your boss or your coworkers, or maybe you haven't decided to embark on a career path because you're a little bit fearful of the unknown. My encouragement is to go after it. Start chopping at something. I'm gonna be here for a long time, but I'm starting. All right, so we've got another morning where I've just been hacking at this stuff, trying to clear it out. And here's the deal. The pain is the vines. The further I've gotten into it, I've realized that there's vines that are interwoven between these trees and these bushes and everything. And it's pretty gnarly. And so what it made me start thinking about was these vines make it really difficult for me to get through and do what I want to do, because they started really small. The vines actually started like really small, growing out of the ground, and then they got bigger, and as time went, they got bigger and they got more entangled and more interwoven into the trees and the mess. And so this is what's come to my heart this morning, is there's lies that in each of us start small. They start small and they start they're not that big of a deal, and then they start getting bigger. And then when they start getting bigger, sometimes they feel like they get out of control. I don't know what the lies are in your life. It could be that you're not good enough, that you can't achieve your goals. It could be that you're not wanted or that you're not loved. It could be that, that you're destined for failure. I don't know what it is, but what I do know is that they normally start small. Those lies start small, and if we don't get rid of them early, then they become a part of this mess that really becomes our lives. If we're living in lies, then our lives become just like that, right? Just like, what is that? And so how do we get rid of the things early? How do we get rid of those lies early? We have to combat it with truth, right? And so, I got my little axe out here, my clippers and my stuff, and if I got rid of this stuff early, like, there would not be a mess. It would be clean and it would be true, like how we intended it to be. But in our lives, how do we get rid of lies when they're actually really big? Well, we got to confront them, and we've got to chop them down, and we've got to, say that we're not going to stay in those. And we've also got to we've got to get around people, and we've got to spend time with God so we can remember the truth about who we are, and that we are loved by God, and that His intentions for us are good. And then we also have to combat it. Like, we have to do something about it. Like, lies don't just go away. Lies that we believing or lies that we start, they don't just go away. So we have to do something about it. My encouragement to you is to have some people speak into your life today, spend some time with God, and just get back to the truth of who you are. Day 3, as you can see, I'm starting to make some more progress. And what I'm finding in today's work is that there's a lot of stuff that's in this whole mess, all of that mess. There's a lot of stuff that's just dead and ready to be tossed away. But it's a part of the mess that's going on that I'm trying to clear out. So the reality is that all of us have something in our lives. Most of us have something in our lives that we haven't cleared out. We haven't gotten rid of. A lot of times it could be hurt or betrayal, or somebody just did us wrong, or we're hanging on to words that somebody said that aren't true. And so there's stuff in our lives that is actually, maybe years old, but we're still hanging on to, even though it's dead and it has no relevance in our life anymore. And we have to clear it out. We have to get rid of the junk that's dead and has no part of who we want to be moving forward. So my question to you is, who do you work with to help get rid of that dead stuff? For me, I have an awesome wife, and I have a group on Tuesday mornings, guys who work in my life, and we share everything. So there's things that are in your life that you need to get rid of. They don't contribute to the growth of who you are. I would encourage you to plug in with somebody or a few people and be able to be honest and get rid of some stuff. And to be honest, most of us need healing that is not able to be done by a doctor or by people. And that's where God wants to come in and just heal some wounds that we've had in the past. So I hope this message encourages you today. Day 4, and you can see I'm making more and more progress. And here's what I'm learning in today's work is that so often we think that the grass is greener on the other side. Like, I look at my neighbor's yard, man, that's so nice. Like, I would trade our yards in a heartbeat. But here's the deal, and here's the reality of it, is that the reason that their yard is nice, or our other neighbor over here, their yard is nice, is because they maintain it. They spend time with it, they maintain it, they make it a priority. And so for every area of our lives, what happens is when things aren't going the way that we think they should go, or we're taking a little bit of a slump in our relationships or our finances or our career, the biggest temptation is to look across and say, oh, what they have is better. Let me just jump over to their yard. But this is the reality, is that you have to look at why. And the reason that our backyard looks like this is because we've neglected it. We haven't maintained it. We haven't put the time and resources towards it, right? And so when you look at your relationships, it could be your marriage. For some of the basketball guys that I work with, if your game is not where you want it to be, it's because you haven't spent time maintaining it, right? And you have to get in the gym. Or if it's your marriage, you have to spend time sitting down and having hard conversations. Like, this is not easy, dragging all this stuff. And I'm not a yard guy, so it's probably even less easy. But with our finances, you know, we have to spend time and have some of the hard conversations and deal with it. The reality is a lot of times we don't deal with it. So the yard across the way looks so green, but we forget that those people put their time in maintaining. They put their attention in working on making it as good as it can look with their yard, or with their marriage, or their finances, or, you know, raising their kids, whatever it is. But our temptation is to look across the yard and say, that's what I want. Let me just dump what I have here and go get something else. The grass is greener where you... All right, it's day 5. As you can see, there's some trees that have been cut down, and that was not done by me. I do not have that ability, the experience. However, we are making progress. And so part of today's message, today's a 2-for-1. You get 2 messages in this one. Number 1 is, a lot of times we need somebody else's help. And sometimes we don't know it. Others probably know that we need somebody else's help in our lives, but sometimes we need somebody else's help who has better experience, who has better tools, and who can help us progress if we'll just reach out and ask. And on occasion, that's in our relationships, our friendships, or the relationships with our significant others. Other times it's in our career. We need a mentor, maybe a business mentor, or somebody else who will take the time and teach us and help us out of their experience and out of the tools that they have. In this case, I needed somebody to help me with my yard, because I can't take down trees that are 60 feet tall, right? So that's message number 1. Don't be afraid to reach out to help, for somebody to help you push through what it is you're working on. Message number 2. The reason that we're getting these trees cut down right now is because there's a hurricane on the way. And these trees, that tree right there was very unstable. It was dead already. And there's another tree that's about halfway down over there that is, both of those were in danger of falling if strong winds come. So the message here is, what is it in your life, or even in my life right now, what is it that if a storm comes, it could crash and fall and there could be disaster? What is it? Like, a lot of times, you know, in our relationships, in our marriages, in those relationships that we're in day in and day out, it could be a relationship between a coach and a player. It could be a relationship between a husband and a wife. It could be any relationship that we see all the time, that there's strife there and we know it, but we don't deal with it. We just move past it. We hope that it goes away, or maybe one of us forgets about it, but it never actually happens. And then when the worst adversity comes, the worst challenge comes, then it crashes and it takes everything with it. There's a tree over here that we actually had to get cut down because it was in danger of falling on our neighbor's house. And so a lot of times, the things that crash in our life don't even just affect us, right? It affects everybody else. If it's in a team situation and it has to do with relationships, whether it's player and coach, or players and players, or coaches and coaches, or it could be in a business between a manager and the subordinates, or a boss and the employees, or it could be in a family, you know, strife between siblings, or strife between mom and dad, or even between mom and dad and the kids. If that stuff, if we don't get down to it and fix it before the worst comes, then the world will come crashing down. That's what it'll feel like. And so what we need to do is we actually need to handle those things first before the storm comes. And a lot of times it's uncomfortable. We don't want to do it. We don't even want to recognize it sometimes. We want to just keep avoiding it. But let's get those things, those issues, let's start dealing with those things before the really big challenges or adversity comes. And then we can do a better job with dealing with the cleanup. So hope you've enjoyed this message. If you have, please share it with somebody else. Shout out to my guy Kevin Hoover, the Hug Your People hat. He's doing an awesome thing over there, taking care of his child, his son Baxley with cancer, but then also blessing others who are going through what they're going through. So yeah, let's keep going forward. All right, it's day 6. You can see it, we're making more and more progress. Had to slow down a little bit when the hurricane came, but we're making progress. Still got a long way to go. Long way to go. And sometimes this is the deal, as we only think about the long way that we have to go. We don't think about how far we've actually come. We only see this massive project or this massive thing to take on, and we don't actually see how far we've come. And sometimes that can lead us to discouragement. I give a little shout out to my girl Dara Brewstein. If you don't follow her, she's a great follow, inspirational, a very strong woman who's been making it happen. But she just talked about a little bit about, give yourself the credit that is due for how far you've come. Like, take time to look back and see how far you've come, whether it's how far you've grown as a person, how you've grown as a family, or how far you've progressed in your career or your business. Even though we don't have exactly what we want, we still need to see the progression, and we need to mark it. We don't need to stay in that and be content with it, right? If I'm content right now and I still got all that left, mama ain't gonna be happy, right? But if we'll take a moment to get back to some reality, and the reality is that we've taken steps forward. And if we're taking steps forward, then we're making progress. And sometimes you just need that little bit of encouragement to help you continue on in your journey. Because a lot of times it feels like, what am I doing this for, right? Sometimes you're in a relationship and it just seems so hard, but you guys, if you work through it, then it'll work. Sometimes it feels like that with family, or like you're not getting anywhere with your kids, or it may feel like with your career. Sometimes with basketball players that I work with, it feels like they're stagnant, but they might just be one step away from having a breakout year that changes their career path. But nothing will happen if we stop, right? If we stop the progression of going forward. But sometimes we just need a little reminder that we've made progress and that we're going to continue on. Surround yourself with people that will also note your progress but push you forward. It's day 7. More and more progress is getting made. You guys remember I started with that little corner. Now I'm working and I'm working and I'm working, and yep. But today, one of the things that I'm learning most has a little bit to do with what I'm understanding to be as displacement. And displacement, a lot of times we take our problems from one area and they go to another area. And while I'm fortunate to have a couple people helping me get rid of all my stuff, looks good on this side of the fence. And then as you can see, there is a ton of stuff on that side of the fence. So what I've done is I've taken my mess from my backyard and I put it to the side of my yard over here. And so my question to you and for us is, where's displacement occurring in your life? Are you having struggles in your marriage and it's spilling over into your work life? Or are you having problems at work and it's spilling over into your family life? Are you struggling as a student and it's causing you to perform poorly in athletics or in your relationships. And so what we do a lot of times is we don't actually take care of the full mess. For me to take care of the full mess that I've just made is clearing out this junk and then hauling it off to be burned or trashed, whatever they do at the dump. But so personally for us, a lot of times we have to fully deal with the issues that we have. And when we do that, then we're working with a clean slate. So when we take care of the issues that we have with our family, whether it's our kids or our spouse, and we work through those problems fully, not just a little bit, and avoid the really, really uncomfortable stuff. When we work through it fully, then we're better for our workplace and our friendships. And the same thing goes for other areas of our life. So my encouragement today is to fully deal with your stuff, haul it away, send it to the dump. Even though it's uncomfortable and difficult at times, that's the best thing. All right, have a great day, live in truth. All right, it's day 8. Yes, we are making more and more progress. You can see I have a neighbor that I never knew I had, and there's still plenty more to go. And here's what I'm facing and learning today, that sometimes when you get into something that you've got to take care of, sometimes it just gets harder before it gets easier. And the reality is, if I had taken care of this a while ago, it never would have gotten as massive as it is, and it wouldn't be so hard to deal with. But the bigger an issue is, the longer that it's gone, that it's been an issue, whether it's relationally or it's you questioning your career or your direction in life, the longer that it grows without our manicure to it or our maintenance of it, the longer that issue grows, the more difficult that it is to rectify it. And the reality is, for me right now, I want to quit. I don't want to deal with all of that stuff. That is a lot of stuff, even as I'm seeing it on the camera. I don't want to deal with it, but I have to. Like, it's important that I deal with it, because when I do that, I'm going to appreciate this space so much more instead of actually avoiding it. So my question to you is, when things get difficult, are you going to keep pushing through? Are you going to keep going? Because the reality is, on the other side of it, it's so good. I know that. Like, I have that vision and that belief that this is all going to be cleared out one day and that it's going to be a beautiful backyard. But I have to work through the times that I don't want to. And I did not want to today. I wanted to be like, maybe somebody else will come and do this in the middle of the night, you know? Maybe that will just happen. No, I need to go at it, and I need to attack it. And if I just do a little bit today to make progress, then I'm taking steps forward. Do a little bit today to make progress. Don't worry about if it's this massive project and you think, oh my gosh, there's so much more to do. Whether you're working internally, you're working in your faith, a relationship, some issues that you need to root out and get done with. Don't give up. You can't quit. Sometimes it's gonna be harder before it gets better, but the get better part is there. I appreciate you guys. I hope this is helpful, and as always, live in truth. All right, we made it to day 9. More and more progress. It's feeling great. And I've got some helpers out here today. They've been helping me. And here's what came to my mind today as I'm working and as they're helping me and I'm trying to maintain our backyard. And this is what's hit me, is like, if I want those 2 young ones to be good at maintaining their yards, then they have to see daddy do it, right? Or my wife do it. If I want them to be great in pursuing their desires and their dreams and their goals, then I have to do the same. They're going to do exactly what me and my wife do, right? And so we set the tone. So we can't play small and ask for our kids to be big and play big, right? So it's really important that we model what we want out of our kids, that we model it. If we want toughness out of our kids, we have to model it. If we want our kids to be strong individuals and independent, then we have to model that. And independence in that regard doesn't mean that they don't need anybody. It just means that they know their own strength. So that's what I'm learning today. And I put it back to you. Like, do you know that you're modeling for the people that look up to you? Whether you're in leadership, in business leadership, or you're in family leadership, or an organization in some way, or even just for your friend group. Like, we model what the other ones that are going to do that follow us, and so we show it and then they do it. So I appreciate you guys. I'm going to keep hacking away at this stuff, and we'll see you next time. As always, live in truth. All right, it's day 10. Again, more progress being made. Sometimes it feels like I'm going backwards instead of forwards, but I know that we're making progress. Today, what I'm learning as I've taken care of some big stuff, like I chopped down that tree, and but I see all this stuff over here, right? And if you remember, probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, there was nothing here. There's nothing green there. And all that green stuff is weeds, right? And the weeds represent lies in our life, right? So at one point, I had all that cleared out, and it looked clear and clean, and everything was good. And then, like, they just start growing, like the weeds start growing again. And so what I'm learning is that we have to maintain the truth. I have to maintain cleaning that area up and uprooting the weeds and clearing it out, because if I don't, they'll grow back. And if I don't maintain, then I'll get back to where I was in terms of the weeds everywhere, right? So day in and day out, I have to be seeking truth so that I can weed out the lies and all of the stuff that drags me and us down on a daily basis. So my encouragement to you is, don't avoid the fears or the lies today. Counteract them with truth. Plug into people. Plug into truth that will set you free. Hope you're having a great day. And as always, live in truth. We have made it to the belly of the beast. Cut through here. And look at these vines. These vines grow straight up out of the ground. They're spiky, and they go all the way through the tree. And then look at that monster. That thing is what's been growing down my whole yard. That thing goes all the way down there. So you gotta cut the head off the snake. Day 11. Again, you guys may not be able to see it, but I can see it. The progress is happening. Now we've got a ways to go, and I'll be honest, every day gets a little bit harder because I've been out here probably doing more yard work than I've ever done in my entire life, right? But what keeps me going is my vision. Like, I have a vision of our backyard that it's actually gonna look like really good. Like, we're gonna have grass and not an Amazon jungle, and it's gonna look good. So the vision of what this can look like, the optimism of what this can be, it keeps me going. And it just made me think about how we need that in our lives. Like, in our families and our marriages, we need the optimism and the vision of where we're going, because it helps us get through the difficult times. In our careers, when we get let go or we get fired or we don't know if we're going in the right direction, if we can just look at the vision of what we want out of life, of what we want out of our careers or our relationships or whatever it is, that's what keeps us going through the difficult times. The vision. So I encourage you, if you're in a struggling point in some area of your life, to write down a vision. write down, like, what would it look like? Like, what is my yard gonna look like when I get through all of this stuff? It's gonna be awesome, and it's worth the work. So whatever it is that you're struggling with now, like, think about it, where you wanna get to, and then it's worth the work. I hope you're having an awesome day, and as always, live in truth. All right, it is day 12, and as much progress that has been made as of late, I've gotten to this corner over here, and it's become exceedingly difficult to keep on going, to keep progressing. And so what I've decided to do was take a different angle of attack from over here. I'm gonna work my way down. And the reality is that I'm learning is that sometimes we just need a different perspective. We need a different angle. And oftentimes our perspective is not always right. I know that's hard for you to believe. Sometimes it's hard for me to believe, as much as I try to convince my wife that my perspective is always right. We need a new perspective, a new angle. And so we have to have trusted people in our lives who can be that new perspective for us. But we also have to search it. We also have to go to that and know that our angle, our perspective, the way that we do things all the time is not always the best. And so if we can reach out, if you don't have somebody that's close to you like that, that cares for you and wants what's best for you and the goals that you have in your life, then reach out and figure out how you can get a new perspective, because that's how we can grow. Oftentimes we get stuck because we're only seeing things one way. But if we can get new perspective from people that care about us, want to see us grow into the awesome people we are created to be, then we can keep moving forward. We can keep progressing. New angle, new perspective, and we keep growing. I hope you've had an awesome week. I'll see you next time. And as always, live in truth. Hey guys, it's day 13, and we're making more progress on this side of things. But man, this stuff is a pain in the rear, goodness. But today, there's something that stood out to me. Man, if I had some chainsaws and some electric trimmers and some bigger, badder tools, like I would be breezing through this. But then I thought about it, and there's a reason that I have not. The tools that I am using, they're relatively primitive, a handsaw and some hedge clippers and a hatchet. But the reason that I'm only using these tools, like I haven't gone to buy new tools, is because so often we think that we can't start a project or we can't do the thing because we don't have enough tools. We can't lose the weight because we don't have a gym membership, or we don't have the right exercise gear, or we can't fix our marriage because we're not able to go to counseling, or we don't have time to talk and work through our stuff, or we can't start the business because we don't have enough know-how, or we can't do this, we can't do that because we don't have the tools. But in all of us, we have what we need to get going. Like, we have what we need. You have what you need to at least start moving forward. And is it taking me longer to cut down all this jungle because I have primitive tools? It is. But it's also giving me time to think and work through it. And I'm learning as I'm going through it. So I encourage you, start. Get moving. You don't need new tools. You don't need new education. You don't need new. You just need to go. Let's do. And then as we get going, sometimes we know we figure out we need better resources, but not to get going. All right. So I hope you enjoy this encouragement. If you get, free time and you just feel like hacking stuff up, holla at your boy. I hope you have an awesome day. And as always, live in truth. All right, it's day 14. And if you guys remember my last post, I was saying how how thrilled I was because I was using the primitive tools to take out everything back here. But look, primitive tools only get you so far. And what I'm learning is that what got you to the level of success or achievement that you're at now will not get you to the level of success or achievement that you want later on, right? And so what that means here is that I've got a friend, a neighbor, who just lent me his electric chainsaw, and so now I've got work to do. He is now my best friend. I put him in my will. And so look, I'm making all kinds of progress, like in a short amount of time. And so it's so important that as we keep progressing in life, that we don't think that it's just like we should do things the way things have always been done. That's not how you continually get better. So whether it's personal development on the inside, whether we're developing in our faith, whether we're growing in our marriage and our relationship, things are ever changing, and we need better tools, and we need more things that can allow us to continue to progress. So my encouragement to you, my encouragement to me, is don't get stuck in doing things the way things have always been done. You won't be able to continue to make progress if that's the case. I hope you're having an awesome day. I hope this message blesses you. If so, please share it with somebody. And as always, live in truth. Hey guys, it's day 15 and I'm making a ton of progress. But here's what I'm learning today is that after you start working through some stuff, you have some leftover junk, right? You got some leftover junk and we've got to burn it. We've got to burn it. We've got to get rid of our past as we work through the lies and the fears and the doubts and the mistakes that have hung us up for so long. If we don't burn them and get rid of them, then we'll always keep them in our memory and we'll always go back to them, and they'll be the things that hold us up from continuing to grow and be great in our relationships, from continuing to grow and be great within ourselves and in our careers and whatever we want. We got to burn it. Right? We got to burn that stuff and get rid of it. We cannot live in the past anymore. You can't change it. Like none of us have ever been able to change the past. It's not within our power, but we can learn from it. And when we learn from it, we burn it and we move on and we grow and we forgive others. Some of this stuff is not just our own stuff. It's from others. Like stop holding on to the grudge that you're holding on to for somebody else. It's actually holding you back and it's holding them back. When you release that and you burn it and you forgive, there's so much power in it. And you do that by living in love. Take care of yourselves, but as you get through all of your junk, like you can't just store it somewhere. It takes too much energy to store it. Burn it, get rid of it, and now you can move on freely. Like I'm about to have this whole yard cleaned up. I'm about to have all these bushes burned up and you won't be able to see them. There'll be no remnant because we've gotten over it. It's something that we've moved on from, and then we're gonna have this beautiful backyard. And you can have a beautiful life. I can have a beautiful life if we move on from our past. We gotta deal with it first. We gotta dig sometimes and deal with it first. But once we've dealt with it, let it go. I hope this message has blessed you. As always, live in truth. It's day 16. Really proud of the progress that we've made so far. Still got some work to do here. But here's what I'm thinking about today. And the fact is that really, really good things take time. Like good things take time to develop. Good relationships take time to develop. Good cultures take time to develop. Good teams, good businesses, whatever it is, it takes time to develop. And there's no specific timeline on how long it takes, but we have to have faith and belief that we're going to turn something into good that may not be so good right now. Like, a couple months ago, this yard was awful. And honestly, it's okay right now. It's not great, but I know that I'm working towards something great, so I have patience with it. How many times have we given up on a relationship because we haven't been patient enough? You know, how many times have we given up on a job or a career direction because we weren't patient enough? How many times have we given up on our kids? Or how many times have we given up on friendships because we weren't patient enough to work through the difficult times to see how good something can be on the other side? That's my hope for us today, is that we can absorb this thing called patience and know that nothing good and sustainable happens quickly. Nothing good and sustainable happens quickly. But when we work through things and we take time and we nurture things, like, really good stuff comes out of it. So I hope that we can all be more patient. I hope that we can all have hope and faith of a great future and work towards that, and understand there's no specific timeline for greatness. There's no specific timeline. Hope you have an awesome day. As always, live in truth. All right, it's day 17. Not much left. This is all we have left. And so what I'm learning today, the thought that comes to my mind, is there's nothing like old-fashioned persistence. Like, for us to do anything really special in life, for us to have any sort of achievement, for us to have a great relationship, for us to progress in our career, for us to love our family like we should love our family, we just have to be persistent. There's so often that we're going on this journey and we just kind of want to give up because it gets difficult, because we can't see the end. We don't know how it's going to turn out, but we just have to be persistent and keep believing that we're going to get to where we want to. And the thing about persistence is it takes some discipline. Like, persistence, like, you just keep going even when it doesn't make sense to everybody else. You keep going. Right? Even when you don't feel good, you keep going because you believe, and your belief carries you on further, right? I believe in my project back here. But persistence, just like, don't quit. Like, who can beat you if you don't quit? Like, at some point, like, I remember being a kid and I kept losing to 101 to my dad, right? When I was young. And as I got older, I just kept playing. As I got older, I kept playing. And then finally I beat that joker. Right? And then it's like, if I would have quit, I would have never known what victory felt like. And so we just have to be persistent in your relationships. Like, be persistent in loving people. It's not easy. You're not always going to get treated right. You're not always going to get treated fairly. But be persistent. Like, and the persistence is what wins. All right? I hope this message blesses you. If so, share it with somebody. Tag somebody in it. But as always, live in truth. It's day 18. We've made some more chopping today. Look, I did not want to be out here today, so today is a win for sure. But the thing that is coming to my mind right now is that, like, change is always happening. Like, the only constant is change. Like, we can embrace it or we can fight it, but either way, change is happening. Now, see, this is the thing, is I fought it in my backyard for a little while. And what happened? This stuff grew like crazy, right? It grew, and it was because that's what happened. Change happens. Like, it was growing. The weeds were growing. And I didn't do anything about it, so it took on a life of its own. But change, we can also embrace change, and then we can go with it. So now I'm starting to take some measures of change here and making this backyard what I want it to be. But a lot of times we fight change. Like, for some reason we get it in our mind like things should be how we want them, and they're going to stay that way, and they should stay that way, and so we fight it. But life is free flowing, life is changing, life is morphing, and we have to get on board with it. And if we get on board with it, then we can get like the river's going downstream, and like we're flowing with it instead of always paddling upstream. You know, that's how change works. And so let's embrace it. Like, let's get on board with it. Let's keep growing. Let's keep learning. Let's keep doing the things that it takes to make positive change versus neglecting it or fighting change, even though change is going to happen. I hope this message blesses you. If you get a a hunch that you want to come and do some yard work, holla at me. But I hope you're having a great week. Embrace change. And as always, live in truth. It's day 19. And here we are. Look at all that. Look at all that progress. You used to not even be able to see that fence or that house over there. But today I'm just thinking about how grateful I am and how thankful I am to have been going through this process. Like, there's a lot of times when we're going through situations or we're trying to grow from something or we're looking at our past, a lot of times we can just curse our past and be, upset and pissed about the things that have not gone our way or the stuff that we've had to work and fight through. But it's those times of challenge and adversity that we grow, and those, like, if we don't have those things, we never reach like the next level. And so for me to appreciate my house and our yard and do some work that was much needed, like, I'm thankful for it. And if I take that attitude towards my business and the opportunities, the challenges that are in my business, and I'm thankful for those opportunities to get better, my business will get better. If I do the same with my family and my relationship with Laura, it's the same thing. When I look back, I have to be grateful and thankful for those times that are difficult, that are hard, because we all face them. Like, we all face them. And what I'm also learning too is that what I'm learning in these times, like, it allows me to be a better friend. It allows me to be a better boss, because I can relate to the struggles that people are going through. So I am grateful for what used to be Jumanji in my backyard, and I'm working through it. But I encourage all of us to be grateful for our past, no matter how hard it's been, no matter how painful it's been. Have a mentality of gratitude towards it, and it propels us forward, knowing that life is a journey, and there's really no specific destination. It's just about growing and learning how to love and live in truth. I hope this message blesses you. If so, go ahead and share it with somebody else. But as always, live in truth. Hey guys, it's day 20. And as you can see, we're making more and more progress. We're almost finished with this project. And what has come to my mind today, it's deadlines. Like, we're in the new year, it's 2020. I planned on having this thing done 2 months ago, and I'm not there yet. And so I could beat myself up about not reaching the deadline, but some other things have taken priority over that, and it's taking a little longer than I thought it was going to. So, but the deadlines that I want to talk about today are the deadlines that we have in our personal relationships, or the deadlines that we have within ourselves. Because what deadlines do, they create an expectation. And when we have expectations, oftentimes we get let down. And so when we feel like we have to create expectations with somebody else, we go, hey, they need to make these changes by this deadline, or I'm done with them. Or my kids need to get this something by this deadline, or they're not a success. Or I need to be married by the age of 25, and I need to have kids by the age of 30, or I need to be this successful by when I'm 40. Like, those deadlines, they're just fictitious things that we make up in our mind, and they make us all tense, and they're not real. Like, we just make them up, and it makes us strive for things that don't really matter. Because when it comes to our relationships, what matters most is that we love people. What matters most is that we care about those who are closest to us. And when we do that really well, then we can care about others that are also at an arm's length and further from us. But if we have these deadlines with people, if we have these deadlines with ourselves, it makes us tight. It makes us anxious. Sometimes it just sucks the joy out of life, and we forget that there's so much to enjoy along the way. So I encourage all of us to look at the deadlines that we've set within ourselves in these fictitious timelines, or maybe even with other people, and realize that life is all about growing, continuously growing and learning and getting better and living in our gifts and blessing others while we use those gifts. I hope this has been encouraging to you. If so, share it with somebody. And as always, live in truth. All right, it's day 21. Look at this. We're getting through some of this junk right here. It's a little crazy in here, but we're getting it done. And this came to my mind today. Like, I didn't have a whole lot of a plan on how I was gonna attack this yard. I just knew it had to go, and so I've made some mistakes along the way. I'm sure it's taken me longer than, you know, if I had planned everything out and had all the proper tools and I'd done the whole thing. But honestly, I could have planned myself to death and not done anything. And so the reality is a lot of times we don't want to make mistakes. So we never start. Like, we never do something because we don't want to make mistakes. We don't want to mess up. We think it ought to be perfect because, of course, everybody else does things perfectly. Well, in actuality, like, mistakes are a great teacher. Like, we've got to make mistakes. And if you're not doing anything, if you're not living life, then of course you won't make mistakes. But mistakes are absolutely okay, especially when we learn from them and grow from them. So what I'm saying is, don't let the mistakes hold you back from going after something, from moving forward and chasing down something that you really want. Like, this yard is looking so much better. Have I made some mistakes along the way? Sure. If I talk to a yard care professional, they probably laugh at me and say they could have done it in 3 days. But look, it's not about what everybody else says. It's about us going and doing what we want, treating people well, living the life that we want to live, honoring God with the gifts that He's given us, and being okay with making some mistakes. It's way better to start than to have never started. Like, nobody who did anything great went a whole time without making mistakes. They just went. They were feeling, they were driven by purpose, and they made some mistakes and learned from them. So don't let your mistakes hold you back. And as always, live in truth. Hey guys, it's day 22, and this is gonna be my final post. Got some more, cleared out that corner. Everything looking good over there. I got some more work to do, but here's the reality and just the truth that I've got to get locked in my mind. Like, I gotta do these posts for really the rest of my life, because this is gonna be a continual project. Because, like, maintaining the life that we want to live is a continual project. Continually growing is a continual project. Like, it's never done. And so many times we're just trying to check stuff off our list. But when it comes to the yard work, it's never going to be done. I either have to hire somebody or I have to do it. When it comes to personal development and growth for all of us in our relationships, in our careers, in the impact that we make, like, it's an all the time thing. It's a never ending thing. I hope it's never ending. That means that I'm continuing to strive forward. You know, sometimes we get into these ruts or we get stuck and we just feel like, you know, we've lost our purpose, or we don't feel like we're significant to others. But the truth is that growing and learning and getting better is an all the time thing. Like, it doesn't end. Hopefully it doesn't end. So I encourage you to remember, like, give yourself some grace when you trip up, when you fall, when you don't do the yard work for a month when you're trying to get it finished, you know. But what I can't go back to is the times where I totally neglect and avoid the things that need to be done, right? Nor can we. The things that we need to change in our lives, we cannot totally neglect or just forget to take care of them. Otherwise, man, that's how this whole thing started. All right, so I hope this whole series has blessed you. If so, will you share it with somebody? This has been fun, but you better believe the next time you see some pictures of this joint, it's gonna look good. I hope this has been great for you. As always, live in truth.